Today's lesson is on how do we review Chapter 1. We have finished the first chapter of the book, and we're going to do a review of all the topics learned in that chapter. The first question says, a climber descends 3 miles into a canyon. What integer represents the descent of her climb? Take a second to copy down the question. If she's descending, that means she's going down. Any situation where a person or an object is going down, the integer representation of that is always going to be negative. So we're going to have a negative, and since she's climbing down 3 miles, we're going to have a negative 3 miles. How far does she have to climb to return to her starting point? Take a second to copy that down. If she went down 3 miles, in order to get back to her starting point, she's going to have to go up 3 miles. Any situation where a person has to go up, it's positive. So she's going to have to climb up 3 miles. Now these two numbers are called opposites. The reason why these numbers are opposites is because negative 3 plus 3 is equal to 0. Opposites, when you add them, are always going to get you back to 0, or in this situation, the 0 stands for the climber's starting point. The second question. Write the decimal equivalents for 5 over 8 and 8 over 11. I'm going to do 5 over 8 first. There are 2 ways we could do this. The first way is write in our calculator. 5 divided by 8 gives me 0.625. I'm also going to do this problem out with long division as a review. When I do this by a long division, I'm going to put 5.00 so that I have room. I look to see how many times 8 goes into 5. That is 0 times. So now I need to see how many times 8 goes into 50. 8 goes into 50 6 times, and that gives me 48 with a remainder of 2. I bring down my next 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16 with 4 left over. I bring down my next 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times, and that gives me a remainder of 0. My second fraction is 8 divided by 11. First, we do it in the calculator, and we get 0.72 repeating. Now I'm going to do this out by long division as well. This time, we're going to have the 8 under our divisor. 11 goes into 8 0 times. 11 goes into 80 7 times. 11 times 7 is 77 with 3 left over. I bring down the 0. 11 goes into 30 2 times. Gives me 22 with 8 left over. Bring down the 0. 11 goes into 80 7 times. 77 with 3 left over. Bring down my next 0. Once I see here, I notice that there's a pattern. I know it's just going to keep being a remainder of 7, or keep being a remainder of 3, and keep being the remainder of 8. So I know that the 0.72 is going to repeat. So it's 0.72 with a line over the 7 and the 2. Are the decimals terminating or repeating? Take a second to copy that down. Terminating means that the decimal stops. If I look at my 2 decimals, I have 0.0625. That decimal stops. So my fraction that terminates is 5 over 8. Repeating decimal, when it repeats, it has to be the same numbers that repeat. So if I look, 0.72 repeats. It's going to continuously show up 0.72. So my 8 over 11 ends up being a repeating decimal. And the last question. During a 15-day dry spell, the water level in a lake changed by negative 2 3/8 inches. What rational number represents the average change in the water level per day? Take a second to copy down the question. Since I am looking for the change in the level per day, I'm going to do negative 2 3/8 divided by 15. Since I am dividing a fraction by a whole number, I need to turn this top fraction, my numerator, into an improper fraction. My 8 is going to stay. I'm not going to worry about the negative sign just yet. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 is 19. Now I'm just going to make this whole fraction negative. Divided by 15, I'm going to turn this into 15 over 1. I'm going to rewrite this as negative 19 over 8 divided by 15 over 1. When you're dividing fractions, we're going to keep our first fraction. So I'm going to keep this as negative 19 over 8. I'm going to change this to multiplication and flip my second fraction to be 1 over 15. So this 15 and 1 over 15, they are reciprocals of each other because 15 over 1 times 1 over 15 can cancel out the 15s to make a 1, will be equal to 1. Now this negative sign can go with either the numerator or the denominator. I'm going to put it with the negative 19 over 8 times 1 over 15. This gives me negative 19 times 1 is negative 19. 8 times 15 is equal to 120. There are no numbers that go into 19 and 120, so I can just leave my answer as negative 19 over 120 inches.